Today, we're going to give you a strategic peek behind the curtain at how we train you to think like a real, certified professional biller. This isn't about memorizing facts. It's about building billing judgment. So let's dive right in.
Let's just start with a hard truth. You could know every single code in the book backwards and forwards, but if you don't get how payers think, you're basically just submitting perfectly coded denials. The real skill, the money skill, is navigating their world.
And the stakes? They're insanely high. One tiny error, like a single wrong modifier, doesn't just get a no. It throws that claim to the back of a very long line, and that can choke the financial lifeblood of an entire medical practice.
And that's really the bottom line, isn't it? Every single claim is a number that matters. A great biller isn't just entering data. You are the guardian of the revenue stream. You're making sure the practice gets paid for the work it does.
So why is the CPB exam so tough for so many people? Well, it's because it hits you right in these weak spots. The test doesn't care if you can define these terms. It wants to see if you can handle them all at once in a messy, real-world scenario where they all seem to contradict each other.
And that brings us to the most important point of all. Success isn't about memorizing a textbook. It's about developing billing judgment. It's about looking at a complicated case and just knowing instinctively what to do first, second, and third. That's the whole ballgame.
Okay, enough talk. Let's see this judgment thing in action. We're going to start at ground zero with the absolute basics, insurance fundamentals. This is where it all begins.
All right, here's a classic you'll see all the time. A patient walks in with 2 insurance cards. Now, this isn't a trick question, but get it wrong and I guarantee you'll get denials from both plans. So, how do you figure it out? You see, a professional doesn't guess. They have a system. First, you've got to identify the coordination of benefits rules that apply. Second, you check to see if something specific, like the birthday rule, comes into play. And the final step, the one that tells you who's primary, well, that completely depends on what you found in those first 2 steps.
Okay, next layer, on top of basic insurance, we have managed care. You know, your HMOs, your PPOs. If insurance decides if a service is covered, managed care is all about controlling how you get access to it.
Oh boy, here's another one that trips people up constantly. You've got an HMO patient who saw a specialist, but there was no referral from their main doctor. What's your gut tell you is going to happen to that claim?
Again, we don't guess, we follow the logic. Step 1, confirm it's actually an HMO plan. Step 2, check that specific plan's rules. Did it require a referral from a PCP? Because the next step is the crucial one. It's the difference between a paid claim and a very unhappy patient getting a surprise bill.
Now, if you thought that was complex, let's throw in another layer. Commercial payers. Now we're talking about thousands of different employer plans, each one with its own little quirks, its own rulebook, and its own way of doing things.
And this is the moment that makes every biller want to pull their hair out. You did everything right. The claim is perfect, it's clean, you send it in on time, and boom, denied. What gives?
An amateur hits resubmit and hopes for the best. A pro becomes a detective. First, you recheck everything, just in case. Second, you hunt down the usual suspect. Was pre-authorization needed for this service? And the next steps, well, that's about knowing exactly where to look for clues hidden deep in the payer's policy. All right, let's shift gears to government payers, starting with Medicaid. And here's the number 1 thing you've got to remember. It's a federal program, but it's run by the states. That means the rules can be wildly different just by crossing a state line.
This right here is the central challenge of Medicaid. You check the federal rules, and it says a service is covered, but the state, your state, denies the claim anyway. That's not a mistake, it's policy.
So your thinking has to operate on 2 levels. First, you confirm the patient is eligible under their specific state plan. Second, you have to put the big federal rule right next to the state's much more specific and often more restrictive rules. The key to getting paid is understanding the difference between the 2.
And finally, the big one, Medicare. As the largest payer in the whole country, Medicare pretty much sets the standard for everyone else. If you can master Medicare, you can master pretty much anything in American medical billing.
Now let's talk about a really critical compliance tool, the Advanced Beneficiary Notice, or ABN. It's incredibly powerful, but its power is all about timing. When do you use it, and at what point is it just a useless piece of paper?
Deciding to issue an ABN is never a guess. It's a calculated risk assessment. First, you check the service against Medicare's big rulebook, the national coverage determinations. Then, you have to assess the likelihood it's going to get denied for not being medically necessary. And that final step, the most important one, it has to happen before the service is ever performed.
Okay, and here's the aha moment. This is where it all clicks into place. You see, these aren't 5 separate topics to memorize. They are one single, integrated system. Insurance determines coverage. Managed care controls access. Commercial payers define the variability. Medicaid reflects policy. And Medicare defines the standards for everybody. This is the unified system we teach inside exam coaches.
So let me be crystal clear. We don't teach you definitions from a glossary. We train you for the real world. We train claim accuracy. We train payer logic. And we train you to make smart, confident, real-world billing decisions.
Because at the end of the day, passing the exam and having a great career is not a trivia contest. It's about knowing how to apply the right rule at exactly the right time to get the right result, a paid claim.
What you've seen here today, this was just a preview of the thinking process. The full, step-by-step framework for mastering billing judgment, well, that's inside.